for basic brushwork, let me diverge just a second, because we went over this a little bit last night. But here, let me get my handy dandy. Let me get my handy dandy sketchbook out and flip to a page that's not finished yet. I'm going to come back and finish this in just a second. But we had a question about brushstrokes. And we actually go in depth in this in the creative circle. And it was, why does everything kind of feel blended together? And if that's what it feels like, that everything feels blended together, it's because you're working wet into wet. It's because you're doing this with your brush. It's because you're futzing and overworking it. If you want defined brush strokes, what you need to do is you need to get paint on your brush. So I have a decent amount of paint on my brush, and every brush is different. So asking me exactly how much is going to be like saying how long is a piece of string? Well, it depends. You want enough on your brush. I have a damp brush. It's not dripping wet, but I put it in the water and then got rid of the excess moisture. And then I put enough paint to have a little bit loaded up on it. If you look at this from the side, you can see a little bit of ridges, so I have a little bit of extra paint. And then when I come down, I place the mark with confidence. I don't mush it, I don't rub it in, I place it with confidence. And if you want, and that's what I've been doing with this palm tree. I don't come in and blend the marks. I come in and put the brush stroke where I want it, and then I leave it. And I don't come in and start scumbling. This is scumbling, which is where you smush the paint in. If you do that, it's going to get muddy, it's going to get mushy. If you want confident strokes, you need to get a decent amount of paint on your brush. If your brush can make one big long stroke, you have enough paint on it. You see here how there's white showing through. I didn't have enough paint on my brush. So you'll develop this feeling and you'll know what's right for you and how you apply it. And you know, every day is different because of the moisture and the humidity in the air. Like when I paint in the winter, it's a very different feeling than when I paint in the summer. So I want to go in, see, didn't even have enough paint that time. And the paper also absorbs paint a lot more than a gessoed canvas, so that's a little bit better. And then you just have to get used to your brushes. You have to take them through their paces. You know, figure out how skinny you can make a line. You can go with the very tip of the brush, and I can go from very skinny to very thick. And I get in there, and I experiment, I smush, and I get skinny, and I smush, and I get skinny. I come, and I see what I can do with my brush. So this is a skill that you can build by experimenting, by having fun, trying different things. And I'll go over that tonight a little bit, because where we put our brush is going to matter a little bit more, because we'll be going over the background, but it will matter just a little bit more than it did yesterday. Yesterday we were just getting paint down on the canvas and it didn't matter where. So now I'm just doing kind of the trunk. And I just did a couple small suggestions to make it feel like we had the texture of the trunk. And then, you know what? As for like kind of showing y'all the general idea of how a slightly more advanced painter would work through a painting, this is pretty much how you can get in there and start playing with color. Take your darks and push them to one side. Take your lights, push them to the other side with color, and see where it goes. Experiment. If you're worried about it being perfect, go to a piece of paper. Use a sketchbook. Take the importance out of the exercise. Do it for the joy. Like, paint on something that you just want to mush paint around on. A lot of the Creative Circle members, we advocate using Canva paper. It's this mixed media paper that's really great. And so if it's something that you love, you can still frame it. And if you don't love it, you can just, it was a piece of paper. So we don't place this like heavy burden on ourselves every time that we sit down.